Breaking news, an activist have infiltrated the Louvre in Paris, hanging up a picture of the former Prince Andrew taken in the hours after his arrest.
Activists have put up a photo of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor in the Louvre.
Well, former Prince Andrew's mugshot was on display at the Louvre.
Louvre Museum is Paris, France.
Where does that bad boy
Take a look.
Activists
It's
from
titled,
and managed to hang.
Wedding.
Activistas del grupo británico Everyone Hates Elon.
罗浮馆内的墙面挂上了一张英国国王查尔斯。
Amerika'da iş insana tepkilerini belirtmek için herkes.
Activists have infiltrated the Louvre in Paris, hanging up the now.
It has now been hung in the Louvre. Take a look.
This channel is about art and politics, so when those two worlds collide so extravagantly, I have to make a video. A framed picture of former Prince Andrew was hung at the Louvre. Can I put it right here?
Yeah.
That's good. There's so much to say about this stunt, especially in contrast with other museum stunts. There's something to say about this picture of Andrew, about the political role of museums and galleries, and, of course, the collective who did this stunt, Everyone Hates Elon, which I was lucky enough to interview for this video. So, where do we start? I say we start with the artwork, Phil Noble's portrait of Andrew. I don't know if it's too early to call this a trend, but this portrait of Andrew closely follows, at least to me, some very popular and unflattering portraits of powerful people at the White House, taken by Christopher Anderson for Vanity Fair. I made a video about them. But while those are posed and make the sitters look like fools, Noble's portrait of Andrew is simply an unflattering snapshot taken after his arrest. The choice of selecting this picture and publishing it, a bit like with Vanity Fair's portraits, is one which may speak to the increasing need for, and at least the appeal of, humiliating figures of authority. For those of you who don't know why he was arrested, he had ties with Jeffrey Epstein. You probably already know this whole saga. So this picture comes out, and as a celebration of a rare case involving wealthy and powerful people being held accountable for their actions, the internet turned this image into a meme and made it circulate. This is where the collective Everyone Hates Elon comes in. From my point of view, they bring these political memes, funny and viral images, out of the internet and into the real world. For example, they created fake bus stop ads, unrolled giant pictures of Epstein and Trump together, or commissioned airplane banners. There's a good case to argue that what they do is, through its style, process, and creativity, art. I decided to contact them to see if I could interview them to get more insights about this action. They generously accepted the offer, but for safety reasons, they answered the questions via text message. In an increasingly surveilled and repressive world, you can't be safe enough. And that's why NordVPN is sponsoring this video. No. That's a joke. No sponsors. I never have sponsors. This is a choice. No sponsors. So please support me on Patreon. Patreon.com/thecanvas. That's real. That's a real sponsor. It's you. You are the sponsor. One thing the collective did ask is to consider supporting and encouraging their actions by donating to them. Again, safety is important, and an important safety tip when you donate to activist collectives online is to use prepaid credit cards, which means you can donate anonymously and not give your real name. Even if you 100% trust the organization you're donating to, the state, or any untrustworthy actor, could infiltrate said organization and have access to an anti-billionaire list, which I'm obviously part of, but which you don't have to be. Again, these are just safe activist practices, and nothing says that one day Everyone Hates Elon won't be flagged as a terrorist organization, and then you'd be supporting terrorists if they ever get cracked down on. So just be safe. It doesn't take much for the state to flag you as politically problematic, and it's not that hard to be safe. I always feel like it's a bit conspiratorial to say the government's going to get after you. I'm not saying they will, but they could. So just be safe. Just be safe. Anyway, Everyone Hates Elon explained that this action was indeed a celebration. The Louvre action was about celebrating that finally, former Prince Andrew is facing a tiny bit of justice. The Epstein files show this billionaire class abusing women and children and using their elite connections to get ahead at the expense of the rest of us. For decades, they got away with it. He might not be facing jail time yet, but we wanted to celebrate a photo that symbolizes the Epstein class finally facing accountability. The reality is, if former Prince Andrew was an ordinary person, this would have happened long ago. Our mission is all about taking on the billionaire class, so that Andrew photo felt like a moment worth celebrating. People say, hang it in the Louvre, when an image is so beautiful, it is practically high art. For us, that image of former Prince Andrew is that beautiful because he's been getting away with his abuse for years and finally he's facing the music. We wanted to show him how he'll be remembered. We wanted the photo to physically hang in the Louvre as long as possible because that is the meme. It's such a beautiful image that we genuinely believe it belongs there. That's why we hung it up the way we did. But because people started taking photos, it got noticed very quickly and it was taken down within 15 minutes. But even the Louvre staff found it funny and were laughing at it. Ordinary people can sense that there's a disconnect between how elites are protected by mainstream media coverage and the accountability and justice that the rest of us want to see from the fallout of the Epstein files. I think this action resonated because it was like a tangible representation of how a lot of people felt seeing that Andrew photo. I find this action particularly interesting if compared to the Van Gogh tomato soup debacle, which I also made a video about, or the Mona Lisa pumpkin soup debacle that followed, which is also at the Louvre. These two actions were extremely controversial because they transgressed strict museum rules. They were disruptive and destructive. But activists from Everyone Hates Elon weren't disruptive. If anything, they tried to be as slick as possible to let the artwork hang on the wall for as long as possible. There's the humorous side to the installation which makes it less offensive. Such a silly picture being presented in a classical golden frame is quite absurd, and it even made the Louvre staff giggle. Everyone Hates Elon adopted the language of the museum space to their advantage to send a message, while Just Stop Oil, for example, subverted it. The reactions to each method of political intervention in museum spaces couldn't be further apart. One was hated, the other celebrated. While Just Stop Oil confronted us with the contradiction of preserving an artwork in a burning world, Everyone Hates Elon made us laugh by celebrating a silly portrait and elevating it to the status of high art. Both actions came from the same side of the political aisle, but both had different tactics which reflected different concerns with different objectives. One was determined to shake up the world, the other to make it laugh. One created strong and passionate reactions, the other a chuckle. I obviously don't know which is most effective. I don't know if that's even quantifiable, so I'll let the comment section take care of that question. Be nice, please. I read all of them. I still do that. Sorta. I'd rather conclude this video on the idea that in this action which sought to celebrate, I see a criticism that perhaps even the activists didn't intend on doing. I believe that appropriating a powerful institutional space by imposing an artwork in it is a statement on that institutional space. In other words, to force a message into a space of power is to imply that this message is not generally accepted in this space. This action is asking us, why aren't museums and galleries not taking a stand on current events? Should they take a stand? Should they display artists who comment on these current events? Why do we find this portrait beautiful, and why don't they? Everyone Hates Elon, by celebrating the arrest of former Prince Andrew, not only federated the world around their disdain of the powerful, but also put into question the politics of institutionalized artistic spaces by creating an imagined space through action. And that, to me, is the real work of art. And to end for real, I really wanted to read this part of the interview with the collective about the accessibility of doing an action such as the one they did. Yeah, it was surprisingly easy to do. They didn't think twice about the frame we took into the museum. Why would they? It's not like people often try to put things up in the Louvre. It's definitely easier to do actions like the ones we do than you'd think. It's not rocket science. Most of our actions are really cheap to produce. We're just printing, finding a way to stick something on a wall or a bus stop. you'll be nervous the very first time you do something like that. But once you get over that mental hurdle, you'll realize how easy it is. We would love it if people saw our actions and felt inspired to do their own. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you, Everyone Hates Elon, for accepting the interview request or proposal or whatever. Very appreciated to have your insights, and I really love your work. Check out the donation link to Everyone Hates Elon and their project, and check out their Instagram page to see all their actions. There's something very creative and very artistic in their interventions in the world. Very, I don't know, I would link it to something like a situationist type of, maybe I should make a video on that eventually, but that's not for here or there, because I have so many ideas for videos, one of which is a video on anti-fascism, which is coming. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for liking, subscribing, commenting, following on Instagram, following on Letterboxd. I commented, I made a review of Louis Theroux's Into the Manosphere, criticizing it. So if you're interested or curious to see what I have to say about Into the Manosphere by Louis Theroux, go follow me on Letterboxd. So yeah, thank you for doing all of that. And thank you more specifically to all the patrons who support the channel so generously with real life money. It's incredibly helpful to have people who are like helpful and also touching, to have people who believe in the value of what I produce so much that they're like, you know what, I will support it monetarily. So thank you, patrons. It's so appreciated, and it allows me to do this full time. Without you, it would be impossible, especially since I don't take advertisers. I did it once and I felt so cheap. I felt like I was selling you out, so I'm not doing that anymore. So check out Patreon, please. And out of all the patrons who are scrolling right here above the former Prince Andrew faces, I hope you like that, by the way. There's also these patrons who are the top tier patrons, and there's Rome Brandel, X-Towns, Bone Meal, and Chrissy Chris. I had a little hesitation there, as I always do, I guess, who are the top tier patrons, who are super helpful and who give, I think it's $20 a month, 20 US, 20 Canadian dollars a month to have their names shouted out. They're probably not doing it for the names being shouted out. They're probably doing it because they really enjoy the videos I do. So if you, like them, enjoy what I do and want to support, check out patreon.com/canvas. I can't overemphasize how much it helps. And I think that's it. That's all I have to say. I've been shilling enough, I think. Anyway, thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh, one last thing before I forget. There is this video that was published last Thursday that I did in collaboration with CBC Arts. I make videos with CBC Arts about artists either from Canada or sometimes my next video is going to be on an exhibition that I went to in Canada and like kind of criticizing it, reviewing it. So go check that out. It's on Fred Herzog, who did color photography in like the 50s. You don't see much color photography in the 50s, and he's like one of the pioneers of it. And his work is beautiful. Go check it out. It's on CBC Arts, and go subscribe to them to see what I do there. I think I do usually it's like a video per month. So go check that out. And I think that's it. That's enough shilling. Now that was like the cherry on top of the sundae or whatever. It's a French saying. I don't know if you say it in English. The cherry on top or whatever of shilling. So I've shilled enough. Thank you so much. Have a great 2 weeks until I see you again in the next video. And goodbye.